Hey guys. Yeah, so I think today we are going to learn. We're going to try to learn this notebook LM thing. Yeah, I know it's been, everyone has been talking about this. So I guess, I need to find out, like, what's the big deal about this. Right, so, yeah, let me watch some videos on this and see how it works.
When you write,
Okay, ads.
influences how readers respond. With Grammarly, just highlight your text and type how you want to sound.
Which is a crazy powerful new tool from Google that has some really unique abilities. There is a feature in it that turns your notes into a podcast, and the AI voices on there and the conversation is pretty amazing. You can use it for study, research, journaling, whatever you want, and in today's video we're going to cover all of those aspects and help to see whether Notebook LM is the future of note-taking and a note-taking application for you. Welcome everyone, my name is Francesco D'Alessio, welcome to Tool Finder. If you're new here, do subscribe, and also, if you're interested, to using the best note-taking app for, since July 2023 below. So let's start with the below, and you can also get a buyer's guide to choosing the best note-taking application for, since July 2023, and very simply, it launched as a research project from Google. It is very much still in an experimental phase and currently only available through the web version, which we'll be demonstrating today. But the application was initially designed as a way to take a bunch of sources and allow you to communicate with that. Very similar to typically like ChatGPT in terms of prompting and getting answers. However, it's evolved a lot since then, and we're going to be covering how you could potentially use it for research, study, and maybe even other aspects of your daily routine. But it's a really interesting application because it's Google's take on all of the information. Google state as well that they don't train your data from Notebook LM, which is very good news, but also it will allow you to use multiple sources now in a wide variety of ways. So let's jump over to the laptop to show you how it works in reality. So let's start with some of the basics, and this is what was available in the last version of Notebook LM, and it's very simply a chat-like experience. What you can do here is start having conversation with the sources that you've provided. So in this case, I've got 4 sources. They're all documents about the light bulb creation. Essentially, you can...
Yeah, so it's basically like a rack system where you can actually input document 1 and then, ask questions that is specific to the document, I guess.
select them on and off over on this left-hand side panel. Now, essentially, you can use some of these pre-created prompts here, which extract some of the information and allow you to do it. In this case, I'm going to press this, and essentially what it's going to do is use all of those sources and reference some useful insights based on your questions. Now, obviously, this can be really effective in terms of research, but also study too, in terms of pulling out some valuable information. So as you can see here, it's pulling out key information. For example, here, it's referenced some pieces in number 5, for example. If I press that, what it's going to do is extract that information and where it got it from, all of these elements in the source guide, which is incredibly helpful. So obviously, that's one aspect of it, and that's the chat and the communication. What if I want to add more sources? So sources, obviously, can be added on this left-hand panel. For example, if I go over to one of the notebooks I created called Fasting Research, I can add any resources I want to.
Yeah, you know what? Let me actually give it a try. Let me find some intermittent fasting articles. Research. Yeah, let me try this one. Beneficial effects, a narrative review. Okay, let me try this one. New notebook. Okay, upload sources. Yeah, let me try this one. Insert. What is this? Okay, notebook guide. Cool. You basically give me a summary, and then you allow me to actually generate a podcast. I wonder how Notebook LM will actually change the podcast space actually. So what I'm thinking is that now Notebook LM allows us to create podcasts easily. So the podcast space will be more saturated, I guess. You suggest me questions? Yeah, let me see this study guide too. Yeah, let's see what will the study guide output be. Okay, still generating. But anyway, so I just now I saw that one of sources is wait, let's see. Okay. Cool. So study guide basically gives us a note-taking form of the whole article. And, this is very useful actually. This is very useful. So type 2 diabetes mellitus, metabolic disorder, insulin resistance, triglycerides in the blood. Okay, so I happen to know like the definition of low density lipoprotein, right? And type of lipoprotein that carries triglyceride. This definition is not that good actually. You know. Yeah. So, you know, this definition actually gives me some doubt about this. Yeah. Actually, let me try on another, like, you know, Andrew Huberman. Because I'm actually a big Andrew Huberman fan. Let me try on that. You know, Andrew Huberman. Intermittent fasting. Yeah, this is the one, man.
Welcome to the Huberman Lab.
Okay, so I think I can add these two as one of my sources as well. YouTube. Okay. Cool. All right. So I have two sources now. Okay. Close chat, view chat, close chat. So I give a name. Intermittent fasting notes. Okay. Not notes, yeah, okay. So okay, so this is my note page, note view, and then this is my chat view. Okay. Notebook guide. So notebook guide basically means that they are actually, so I can have a summary, and then they have like a few predefined templates, and then I can generate audio, and then they have some questions. Quite good, I would say. Yeah, let me ask some questions actually. What are the benefits of intermittent fasting? Yep. Let's see. Wow, okay. The source describes intermittent fasting benefits, okay. Similar benefits, weight reduction. Primary mechanism, particular alternate day fasting can be effective for weight loss. Then calorie restriction. Actually, right, because of larger negative energy balance it created. Okay. However, the sources note that more research in the if weight loss from is sustainable long term. Yeah, let's see what the source is from. Okay, where is this? Dude, I think it's this dark reader somehow screws with my. I'm not allowed for. Yeah, okay. I think it's, yeah, this view is much better, man. Let's use this. Okay. Okay. So. Okay, this is the document. Wait, this is the document title. Yeah, this is the document title. Okay. Improve glucose metabolism and insulin sensitivity. Reduce insulin concentration. And improve insulin resistance. Reduce body weight. Okay. so this basing it from the transcript of the Huberman video. Yeah, so this is good. I guess this is good. So what this notebook LM allows me to do is I can basically ask question from a specific set of documents, basically. That looks good. Let me see.
So in this case, I can upload Google Docs, I can upload Google Slides, which is helpful. And you may notice down here, you've got like a bar to indicate how many limits of how many sources you can have. You can have up to 50, which is pretty impressive for what they're offering. Imagine adding 50 sources of information, bringing all that information in there. For researchers and study, that's pretty incredible. You can upload anything from PDF to audio, MP3s, whatever it might be. Or you can use a website or a YouTube video or a copied text. So all of these sources can be added, and then they appear on the left-hand panel. Now the pain with this is every time you add a source, for example here, it lives as a notebook. So you have to have a notebook for each separate experience you have. But that could be incredibly valuable for students that are adding sources over time or things that they find that they want to be able to pull information from. So like I said, you can ask questions if you want to and prompt it. But there's also this thing over here, and it looks like Google Keep, right? It's very ugly in my opinion. You click into it, and these are the notes that you can save. You can save notes or create notes from scratch, whatever the liking. And for example, if you were in here in the chat, for example, if I use this prompt here, then you can save any responses that you have in the chat, which is an incredibly helpful thing because it just means that you're saving the information they're pulling out in context. So here we go, I've got one, I can save it as a note and it will appear up here, which is fantastic. Now here's where the real magic kicks in. I can press two of these options. If I press one, it'll help me understand it through the chat function, but if I press two, it's going to create a study guide or an outline or combine them into notes or summarize information or suggest related ideas, which is insane and crazy, and it's a great way to be able to pull in information and really start to drill down on two concepts.
Okay, so for output, I can actually save as note. Okay. Then give a new name. Wait. So this is a new name. Benefits of LF. Okay. Click one. Critique. Okay. Chat mode. I mean, everything, the features sounds cool so far, but what I'm trying to figure out now is how can I incorporate this notebook LM into my daily workflow? Like, how does it benefit me actually? So I'm trying to figure out that actually. How am I going to use it? What value were you going to provide actually? So I'm still trying to figure out this piece.
Steps that you may have saved, or ask follow-up questions based on it. Now you can delete these or add notes, and as you can see, this is an empty note. For example, if I deselect all and click into this note, it's very much a basic note, as you can see, no frills, no spills, but if you're working in this sort of technology space, then they're probably focusing a lot more on the artificial intelligence side, as you can imagine. So this is where the real magic comes in, it's the notebook guide. Now here, it's sort of like a front page of your sources. It's really valuable because you can create them into an FAQ, you can turn them into a study guide, table of contents, but it's summarized everything based on all of the sources it's got here, which is incredibly valuable. So for example, you can see that it's pulled information that I had from Harvard, I believe that's up here, and then from the transcript of the video, which was about world's largest fasting study from nutrition facts. And it's brought in some suggested questions based on this. And what's really magical is what it's going to do is if I press load conversation, and I will let you know now, it does take some time to get set up. However, what it does is it pulls all of that information and turns it into a podcast. Now I'm going to play some of this on screen so that you can hear it and you can start to see how impressive this is.
Okay, seriously, is anyone else feeling like every time they open their phone, it's just article after article about intermittent fasting?
Right, like it's everywhere you look.
And it's not just the headlines, it's celebrities, it's those crazy before and after pictures, everyone's got an opinion.
And they all swear it's the best thing since sliced bread.
Do you want to learn Python
Like
from scratch?
ads.
At Log2Base2, learning Python is just like watching an animation movie. You can learn the concepts quickly with our visually engaging
Okay, I'm just hooked by this actually. Damn. This is a successful ads actually. Learning Python visually. Sounds interesting.
So what's
Damn. Okay, so this is the differentiating factor, right? Learning Python. Okay, this is very interesting. Log2Base2. Who is their founder too? Log2Base2 founder. bro. Smart guy, man. Found in April 2019 now. Sounds cool. Okay.
Really cool about this is it's already created this using artificial intelligence, which is amazing. And the accuracy of it, the way that it brings in all the sources, and the way that it turns into a podcast-like approach. Even you have people like laughing and overlaying information over the top of other people, which is interjecting. That's what it's called. Interjecting, which is incredible. And the one thing you can do straight away is actually change the playback speed or download it for your own likings. And that's created an almost 10-minute podcast for me. Now, why is this useful? If you're studying or researching and you're a audio-based thinker, it could mean something else, I don't know, not a visual thinker, then this might help you to reflect on the information you've got. Incredibly useful for bringing together all the sources. Imagine if you had 50 sources and it brought together a podcast about it, which could be used as a way to consume the information on the go in the future, which is an incredible resource. So the audio overview is something that has recently been added, and you can add whatever you like, but it's quite cool. I tested some of the abilities. I was very impressed because I uploaded a journal, and I'm going to show you how that works in a moment. So that's the notebook guide. That's how it works over here, and that can be incredibly beneficial. So if I go back to my journal here, well, I just took some fake notes through ChatGPT and created 4 journal entries about somebody finding it difficult to leave a job and start a new job, and the anxiety around those elements. Now, as you can see, it's taken a source guide, summarizing it, and picked out key topics, which is incredible already. But what it's done is it's created a notebook guide, and if I load the conversation, what it's going to do is provide me with a retrospective look from their perspective of how that person is feeling. In this case, it could be me, but they're having a conversation about those feelings, and I think that the dialogue that they create from this is pretty insane in terms of how they can look at the information.
Welcome back to the deep dive. You know, today we're doing something kind of different. We're diving deep into, well, your world.
Oh,
Yeah, let me try to
Right,
make
we've
it
got these
into
journals.
a podcast actually. I remember there's a intermittent fasting Jason Fong, right? Quite a good video. Yeah, let's try this 1 million view video, man. Okay. Alright, so notebook guide, let me make a podcast about this. Damn, okay.
All entries chronicling your lead up to a big career change. Last day's coming up fast.
I see. Following someone through this huge life transition, all those raw emotions. I'm ready when you are.
Exactly, a front row seat to your next chapter. And let me tell you, even just skimming these entries, it's a roller coaster. Excitement, apprehension, it's all there. What's your professional take on that cocktail of feelings?
Oh, it's totally normal.
So obviously you need to be able to look at this and see whether something like this as a tool is right for you. Obviously it's important to be able to look at, professional sources, not just artificial intelligence. If obviously the journal entries, it's more of a retrospective look at things. But for example, let's say you had a marketing document, you uploaded some ideas and you were trying to get a feel for whether this strategy would work or not.
Dude, this YouTube channel is actually pretty dope, man. I must say.
Hello everyone, my name is
1.7k, damn. Bro, he has been around for a long time, mate. Damn, the dedication, man. That is dedication.
that could be another aspect. But you can understand that that retrospective look of those feelings and elements that you bring to the table could be an incredible resource in journaling and prompting and building some of the thoughts out into a little bit more of a solid idea.
The thing is, I'm now still struggling, like, how am I going to use, what am I going to use Notebook LM for, actually? So, I'm not going to use for learning, because yeah, I don't see purpose for this, actually, to be honest. But I can see, like, students, for example, if you're a medical student, right, you would just like put your lecture notes for a particular chapter here, and then you can produce study guide from there. I guess that would be very useful. But for me, I don't know, man.
idea. For example, if I was actually feeling those elements between stuff, this gave me a really interesting audio dialogue about how I'm feeling based on how I have uploaded the information. So in my opinion, that's an incredible resource, and I was just playing around with the concept much more. Now, obviously this is completely experimental, so obviously you need to take on the head. I found a few little hiccups in the dialogue, but they were really, really minor in terms of its overall experience. However, very, very impressed with how this can be offered out. Now, who is going to benefit from Notebook LM? Students, probably researchers. I probably wouldn't necessarily use it for a use case like this, or maybe even for marketing or sales. I'm not sure it can be incredibly valuable. However, insights on things that you bring in lots of sources from could be really, really helpful. So what does this mean for the future of note-taking? Very simply, this is probably not going to be the finished article. They're likely going to bundle this up and put it into other experiences they've got, like Google Docs or Google Keep. They probably won't add an additional experience. This is more of a research product. So I wouldn't get fully integrated in this unless you're bringing sources from other places and you're not like reliant on all of these notebooks being yours. But it can be a great way to learn some information. Now, the way that I see it is note-taking is going to go for a big shift in the next couple of years. Productivity administration is going to be completely wiped out, and anything that we did before that was manualized is going to be removed. And that's a good thing. It allows us to focus on the quality of the notes and the thinking of the notes versus actually the maintenance of the notes, which is incredibly useful. So think of a note-taking application that can bring in sources from your Gmail, can bring in sources from your Google Docs or other such places, and be able to know the things that are happening around you, the context that's important, to be able to provide you insights with your daily routine. It could have the conversations with business people, your friends' conversations, and also valuable tools.
Let's see what the Reddit community thinks of this. Reddit. Okay. How is it useful? Okay. AI-powered note-taking app designed to help with research, summaries, and organize info, but I'm still not sure how it works, how effective it is. Okay. Okay, exactly my questions. How exactly do you use Notebook LM? Yeah, how does it integrate with existing workflow? Practical use case. Okay. Dude, these questions are what I'm thinking as well, man. I feed all the info I have, I listen to overview. Okay. Trip. No worries, as Delta would just give me credit. Okay. Project Tailwind, and it's quite effective for research and analyzing information. Okay. Workflow with my note-taking process. Sorting through, highlight key points, a press summary. Okay, I'm not sure actually. Yeah, I think for studying it's actually quite good. Yeah, is this podcast done? Okay, let's listen to podcast.
All right, so you want to know more about intermittent fasting?
Well, it really has gotten a lot of attention lately.
Yeah, it's everywhere. And we're going to go beyond the hype today and get to the science. You've provided a really interesting review article here. It's called Beneficial Effects of Intermittent Fasting. A narrative review.
Yes.
And we're also going to be referencing the Huberman Lab podcast.
A great episode on fasting and time-restricted eating, by the way.
Okay, so before we get too far, can we just define what exactly is intermittent fasting?
So intermittent fasting, or IF, as it's often called, is really a way to change when you eat rather than what you eat.
Okay, so I've seen that there's different ways to do this. Like there's alternate day fasting. I think there's the 5.2 diet, and then there's time-restricted feeding.
You're right. There are a lot of different ways, and they've actually all shown benefits. But time-restricted feeding, or TRF as it's known, really does seem to be the best.
I think one benefit I can see is that let's say I want to learn about the history of Christian churches. It'd be very boring for me to read the whole Wikipedia page. So the value added of this so-called podcast is it makes learning fun, and that's one of the benefits I see. Where is it? Okay. Yeah, it makes learning fun actually. You know what?
Researched and probably most sustainable for long-term health.
Okay, so I think Dr. Huberman and his podcast really advocated for TRF as well.
He did.
So TRF, you're basically just taking a break from eating for a certain amount of time each day.
Right. You go back and forth between a fed state and a fasted state. And by doing that, you're actually changing your metabolism.
Okay. So the narrative review that we have here, it talks about a lot of the benefits.
You know what? Let me actually try it with a philosophical one. You know, I'm actually intrigued now. I'm actually intrigued. So, okay. Okay, how do I, dude. Okay. Let me try philosophical one actually. Let's say I want to understand David Hume. No, John Ross. Stanford. So I'll give him the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. So one of them is website link. Cert. So I want the other one is John Ross, but Internet Encyclopedia. Yeah, let's use these two. Okay, let's generate one. We'll see how good it goes.
And documents about your past, that it will be able to essentially amalgamate all of the insights and have a really interesting insight on your daily routine. Something that you can use as assistant every single day. So note-taking is almost falling down the assistant route, and it's going to be very exciting. I have a lot more thoughts on productivity AI and the future of it. So if you did want to sign up for my exclusive class or workshop that I'm going to dive into, the 3 parts of the future productivity world, then you can find that linked below. So hopefully it's helped you explore Notebook.
All right, cool. All right, let's see the use case, man. Okay. I have high hopes, man.
LM. Today I want to share with you 10 use cases for Notebook LM that I don't hear anybody talking about. This can be useful in your job if you're juggling a lot of different projects or trying to keep up in a complex industry, but it can also be really useful in your personal life, for your health, for your hobbies, and even making big life decisions. Notebook LM can be super useful, but the tool is so versatile, it's not exactly obvious how to use it. I'm going to kick the video off with a rapid-fire overview of Notebook LM, including this killer new feature that everybody's talking about. See this page? You need to have a Google. Okay. So the first case I want to share with you is how to use Notebook LM to keep up with niche information. Most of us anyway, are in these complex industries, and there's a lot of news coming out. So what I do on a weekly basis, I have a virtual assistant who's really my right-hand person. So what I have her do each week, there are a bunch of YouTube channels that I want to keep up with, way more than I would be able to keep up with just by watching these videos. So I have her transcribing these videos using Descript, and I'll show you that in a second here. Then she loads in those transcriptions right in here. So by copying and pasting text in, each week I open this up, and I have this week's AI news, AI on YouTube, ending September 20th. So from there, once those are all loaded in, I've instructed her to create this briefing document. So this notebook guide is a really cool button. It's kind of hidden down there, but when you click on that, there's all these different things that you can do with that source material. And the newest and most exciting pieces of this is this audio overview. So these are this deep dive podcast that is created from all of your materials. And if you haven't heard this, it is just stunning. It is next level AI for so many different reasons. Let me show you this.
Wow, you sent over a ton of really interesting stuff about AI. Seems like you've been doing some serious digging into this.
Yeah, it's definitely been on my mind lately.
So, ready to do a deep dive into all of this? See what we can uncover together?
Absolutely, let's do it.
Perfect.
So that is the killer new feature that everybody's talking about, the ability to create that podcast where you have a male and a female voice going back and forth, all created with AI, discussing the materials that you've uploaded. I'm going to come back to this use case later on because I think there's a lot we can unpack here. But I want to zoom out and see what's going on in general in tech and business. That brings me to our next use case. The second use case is using Notebook LM to keep up with general knowledge. So I have my same virtual assistant. She logs into my Wall Street Journal and New York Times and pulls all of the different tech and business articles into this Notebook LM and does the same exact thing. So each week I am able to look at an overview of everything that has happened and also just listen to these beautiful podcasts as I'm taking a walk, giving me a summary of everything that I was interested in that week. But that is not all. There is a ton that we can do with this. So for every every client that I work with, I have a specific notebook just for that client. Every time I speak with that client, I log my transcripts right in here, and I pull these directly from Zoom. You can set Zoom up to automatically record every time you fire it up, and then automatically transcribe what's going on, which is really awesome because it labels who is speaking, which is very helpful for the AI to understand what's going on, because I don't always want to know what I'm saying on these calls. I want to point it at what the clients are saying. So anytime I have a call coming up with that client, I can just say, hey, what did we discuss last time? What were the action items, etc. Gets me right back up to speed with where I need to be with that client. Then you can also prompt it to see, hey, how is this relationship unfolding? What is the client continuously asking about that I haven't been able to fulfill on? You can learn a ton from these notebooks. Moving on to use case number 4, for any project that I'm working on, I like to fire up a notebook. In this particular case, I was working on a custom GPT that creates business
Okay, reflection from Zoom meetings is a very interesting use case, I must say.
plans. So I've loaded in a ton of different books all related to creating business plans and started working with this large language model to help me build that custom GPT specifically for these business plans. Moving on to use case number 5. Anytime I have a recurring internal meeting, I grab all of those transcripts from Zoom the same way I do for my client meetings. If you have a meeting with your leadership or if you have a meeting with your department, you want to keep those loaded in there. You can share this internally. So as you're documenting these group calls, you may want to share those with that group so that they can access this information and keep up to speed that way. And now for one of my absolute favorite use cases. Use case number 6 is using this for market and competitive research. I created a whole video just on this, but I think this is one of the number 1 use cases for Notebook LM. Loading up all sorts of information about your competitors, loading up information about your audience and about your customers. I'm going to link to a video that I created all about that really helped me uncover some pretty amazing marketing strategies. So market research is a biggie for Notebook LM. So those are all different use cases you can think about in your professional life, but there's still a lot more we can do with this tool in your personal life. So for health and fitness, I have a notebook loaded up with my 2 all-time favorite books. You can put full books in here as your resources. It can handle up to 50 full-length books, 50 very large books. One thing I didn't mention is that you can actually point this if you want to do it.
Okay, let's see the...
All right, ready to dive deep. Today, it's John Rawls, a pretty big name in political philosophy.
Oh yeah, definitely a big thinker.
And you know what? His ideas, they're surprisingly relevant. Even today, we've got excerpts from 2 encyclopedias of philosophy, actually. The Stanford one
Oh, okay.
and the Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy.
I've heard of that one. Yeah.
But we're going to cut through all the kind of academic jargon
Right.
and get to the really fascinating stuff, I promise.
Sounds good.
I think we can handle exploring a realistic utopia.
A realistic utopia. I
Yeah.
like the sound of that. See, Rawls wasn't just, theorizing in a vacuum.
Right.
He actually believed his ideas could help us build a better world. Like, for real.
Yeah.
A world where, like, war and poverty, they're not the norm. They're the exception.
That's it. And to get there, Rawls thought political philosophy has a pretty big job.
Yep.
4 specific jobs, actually.
Okay.
It's like philosophy's got all these talents, right?
Okay.
First, it's like the practical problem solver.
Yeah.
Like Haas trying to make sense of the English Civil War, all that chaos.
You're right.
Then there's like this orientation role. Philosophy gives us a framework for how the political world works.
Yeah, like a map, I guess, to help us see where everything fits.
Exactly. Then it puts on its critic hat, holds up a mirror to society,
Yeah.
makes us question things.
Challenge those assumptions. I like it.
It's like that friend who's always pushing you to, like, think a bit deeper.
Yeah, yeah.
Consider different perspectives.
Right, exactly.
And finally, and I think this is where Rawls really gets interesting, it's the reconciliation role.
Oh, okay.
Understanding why things are the way they are.
Even if we don't like them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Even if we don't agree. Have you ever been frustrated with a system? Yeah.
Oh, of course. Who hasn't?
A policy or a social issue that just felt unfair.
Yeah, definitely.
But if you understood maybe the reasoning behind it,
Right.
it might help you kind of come to terms with it a little bit.
Yeah, sometimes just understanding the why can make a difference.
It's like understanding why your friend loves that,
That cheesy 80s band, you mean?
Exactly,
Yeah.
that cheesy 80s band. Like, you might not like the music,
Yeah.
but you can appreciate at least why they like it.
Yeah, yeah, you can see where they're coming from.
Okay, now let's get to Rawls' main thing.
Right.
Justice is fairness.
Okay.
Imagine we're building a society, from scratch.
Okay.
How do you make it fair for everyone?
Yeah.
Not just the lucky few.
Right, that's the big question, isn't it? Well, this is where Rawls introduces this really, really interesting idea.
Okay.
It's called the original position.
Okay.
And it's a thought experiment.
Oh, I like thought experiments.
Where everyone gets to decide the rules for society.
Right.
But here's the thing. They have to decide these rules before they know anything about their own place in society.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of like
Like a cosmic game show almost.
Yes.
Dude, this is actually good, man. You basically like extract the core ideas and then make it entertaining by presenting it as a podcast form.
Exactly. You could spin the wheel, right?
Yeah.
And it lands on rich or poor,
Talented.
talented,
untalented.
all sorts of possibilities. But the catch is,
What's the catch?
you're behind this veil of ignorance.
Veil of ignorance. What is that?
It means you have no clue what your life is actually going to be like.
Oh, wow.
No clue about your social status, your talents,
Your gender?
your gender, your race, nothing.
Wow. Okay.
You have to choose the rules for society blind,
Talk about pressure.
right?
So how do you create a fair society when you have, no idea what your own future holds?
Well, Rawls argued that in this situation, any rational person would agree to 2 basic principles of justice. First, you'd want equal basic liberties for everyone.
Makes sense.
Things like, freedom of speech,
Fair.
freedom of religion, the right to vote, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, who would risk being born into a society where they don't even have those basic freedoms?
Exactly.
And the second principle has two parts.
Okay.
The first part is fair equality of opportunity,
Mm.
meaning everyone, regardless of where they come from, should have a real chance at, succeeding in life.
So, like, being born into poverty doesn't automatically mean you're, like, shut out.
Exactly. But here's where things get a little more...
A little more complicated.
Yeah, a little more complicated. The second part of this principle is called the difference principle.
Difference principle, okay.
And it says it's okay for some people to have more than others, more wealth, more power, but only if those inequalities benefit the least advantaged members of society.
Okay, so the rich can get richer, but only if it, like, lifts the poorest out of poverty, too.
Yeah, that's the basic idea.
Interesting.
It's about making sure that any advantages in society aren't just benefiting the privileged few, but they're actually working to improve everyone's lives, especially those who need it most.
Okay.
Now, you might be thinking, why should I care about all this?
Yeah.
Well, think about it this way. These principles are all about building a society where everyone, regardless of their starting point, has a real chance to flourish.
Okay, so, like,
Yeah.
it's like everyone gets a slice of the pie, not just the big shots.
Exactly. Everyone benefits. But Rawls knew just having fair rules, that's not enough, is it?
Right.
People actually have to, buy into them, not just follow them because they have to.
Right.
And that's where this idea of an overlapping consensus comes in.
An overlapping consensus.
Yeah. Rawls thought people from all walks of life could come together to support the same basic principles, even if they had totally different beliefs.
So it's less about agreeing on everything and more about finding that common ground.
So exactly.
Where you can be like, hey, we might have different reasons, but we all agree these principles they're important.
Yeah, think about something like freedom of speech.
Okay, yeah.
A conservative might support it because, individual liberty, and a liberal might support it because they think it's necessary for social progress.
Right.
Different reasons, but both end up defending the same right.
It's like two people looking at a mountain from different sides. They see different things, but they both appreciate the peak.
Right, exactly.
So how does Rawls think we should talk about these big political questions when things get, heated?
Well, that's where public reason comes in. It's this idea that when we're debating those really fundamental questions about politics, we have to use arguments that everyone can understand and accept as reasonable, regardless of their personal beliefs.
Okay.
Like building bridges instead of walls.
So no quoting scripture in the Supreme Court. Got it.
Right, exactly.
But does that mean you can't bring your personal values into the discussion at all?
Right.
Like what about things like taxes or environmental regulations? Does public reason apply there too?
That's a good question.
Actually, quite good, man, I would say. Damn. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is I think this need to be more specific, right? This is actually good too. I like the podcast feature. It's game changing.
A chat just with one particular book or one particular source. You can control that right here by checking and unchecking these boxes. So if I just wanted to know what Terry Walls was saying in the Walls protocol about some diet things, I can just have that box checked, or vice versa. Now for decision making, this is a huge use case for Notebook LM. I've loaded this up with a ton of different books that I use for decision making that I refer to, from Blue Ocean Strategy, Crossing the Chasm, Good to Great, all of these amazing business books. I have loaded in 14 of these books, and this has been a very helpful resource for me as I'm trying to make decisions, as I'm working through different projects and so forth. Now on to use case number 9, notebooks for your hobby. So anything that you're really interested in, I have one that is full here with all sorts of great literature, so I can just ask it questions about poems. It has all of Shakespeare in here. I've also got a notebook for creative writing and for different hiking, outdoor ideas, outdoor activities. I live in Maine, so I've loaded one notebook up all filled with different travel books for Maine, so when my family's coming to town, I can just chat with that and come up with cool new ideas that I would never have been able to find just in those books alone. One final use case before I zoom out and give you some big picture resources to think about is getting back to this killer feature, this killer podcast creator here with these deep dives that I showed you earlier in the video. So these are not only a great example of these large language models producing audio, but I think what nobody's talking about here is how well they're presenting this information. So they take this information, which sometimes can be very dry information, and it creates a very, very cool narrative around it. So even if you're not going to use that podcast itself, you can think about listening to it as ways to present specific information, because it has a lot of story built into the way that those podcasts are created. Now getting into some final tips and tricks for these use cases, you can download these podcasts that it creates. You can load those right into Descript and then begin editing it just the way you would edit a Word document. So if there's some things that weren't quite right in there, you can fix that up. You can add a little intro. Another couple resources you might be interested in for converting your Kindle books into PDFs are known as Calibre and ePubORG. Ocean of PDF is a place you can go to find a bunch of different PDFs of different documents.
Okay, this is actually good. I like the podcast feature. Right, so next, today I also want to practice some SQL questions, man. Yeah, let's practice some SQL questions before we call it a day. So I'm going to practice SQL from Netflix. Yeah, we're going to practice 5, you know what, and then call it a day. Right. Find details of Oscar winners between details. What the heck? What does the table looks like actually? Bro. So what? Oh, it's integer, yeah. Bro, this is too easy to. Isn't this a bit too easy? Okay. Count the numbers of movies that Abigail Breslin nominated as Oscar. Okay, Oscar nominees. Number of movies here. Equals Abigail Breslin. I think I'll put this thing here because I want unique movies. Movies that was nominated for an Oscar, right? Okay. Dude, this is easy, dude. What the heck? That's easy. Yeah, both of these are one more questions though. Flags per video. Okay, let's see. Find out how many unique users flagged of their first name and their last name. Don't consider rows in which there's no flag ID. Okay. For each video. Okay. So I think I'm going to group by video ID, right? Okay. So for each video ID, so where there's do not consider, so this sentence, so I want to, so flag ID is not null. Okay. So once I group by video ID, unique users, combination, should I concat them together actually? Okay, that's an error. What the heck? Okay. Yeah, let's run this script. Okay. All right. I got it correct. Dude. Wait, so the question just now they have output, is it? Okay. What if there's no, what if it's locked? Okay, SPL's locked, okay. First 3 most watched movies. Okay, let's see how it goes. Dude, this one is actually a good question. Yeah, I'll put in a video as well. I'll put the, asterisk. And starts the user ID, video, date, watch are captured in the database. Find the top 3 video most users as their first 3 videos. I'll put the video ID and the number of times it has been watched as the user's first 3 videos. Okay. So I have user ID and then what video it watches and then timestamp. Okay. I think I need to use a Windows function here, I think. So user's first video. Damn, I'm a bit exhausted to be honest. This is a good question, I would say, but yeah, I mean, I think I'll call it a day. Yeah, it's been a long day, man. Alright, I think that's all for stream.